You know, friends, there's an old saying about when a man gets caught running around on his wife. And when he gets caught, they'll say, well, he got caught with his pants down. That turns out to be an embarrassing situation when you get caught with your pants down. There is no explanation. There's none at all. You got caught. There is no explanation. It does not exist, especially if there's also a female in that same room and you got your pants down. You can lie, no matter what you say, nobody don't believe you. Yes, you know, back in, I think it was the 70s, when President Nixon got caught up in something called Watergate. A lot of y'all might not know about that episode, but I do. It was called Watergate. Richard Nixon got caught with his pants down. His prints was all over that Watergate. He denied it. He tried everything he could. For 1 year, that stuff went on TV all over the world. He denied it, he denied it, he denied it. But after 1 year, it was still, he could not get out of it. So eventually, he resigned. And it was very embarrassing to him. Very embarrassing. Because Richard Nixon was a proud man. Now we come here in a new age. There was a religious writer called Stephen Bates. Stephen Bates. He worked for the Guardian Press in the UK. That is the Guardian Press in the UK. Now, on October the 8th, 2001, he printed an article about the Watchtower. He printed this article about the Watchtower being involved with the United Nations. Now, naturally, the Watchtower denied it, but they got caught with their pants down. They told every excuse they could to get around this thing. Oh, it was to use the library that the United Nations had. Oh, we only wanted to use the library. Well, they've been using the library for 10 years. See? But now they were under a title called NGO, which means non-governmental organization. So it means they filled out a lot of paperwork then. But when they got caught, they made up every excuse that under the language that was in the contract, they quickly withdrew from the NGO. They quickly withdrew because it was language that they could not understand, although they had lawyers, but they could not understand that. But that was just an excuse. We didn't know. We didn't know. Well, that sounded like a bunch of little kids to me. We didn't know. So they sent letters to all the organizations or every kingdom hall in the world telling the elders what to say if this subject was ever brought up to them. To say that they only joined it so that they could use the library. Well, it was too late. It was too late. The Guardian Press printed the story about this. October the 8th, 2001. Then the Watchtower had joined it in 1991. That's 10 years they were in it. But they denied it. They did everything they could to get around that, as usually. As usually, it failed. Like Richard Nixon failed with Watergate. See, there are times when you get caught with your pants down. There is no explanation. I mean, you can give the people an explanation, but nobody believes that. Only the zombies in the Watchtower. They believed it. Now, why did they believe it and nobody else did? Why did they believe it and nobody else did? They believed the Watchtower story. They didn't know. See? They only did it to use the library. Well, me, as a six-pack Joe, I could go up to New York and use that library and not even bat an eye. Anybody can use the library. Anybody can. Now, you know why they was in the NGO? You'll never hear this from a witness, but you'll hear it from me. I know why they joined it. They joined it so as they would have influence of all the nations in the world. Influence on what? Influence to put their magazines in the hands of the people. If the governments came down on them about distribution of their magazine, they get on the phone, call the United Nations. They had pull. They had pull. See? That's why they joined it. See? If you belong to the United Nations, that's a lot of clout. That's a lot of clout, then see? But it backfired on them. They got caught with their pants down. In fact, their pants was all the way down to their shoes. And denying, just like that adulterous husband in that room with another woman, saying, well, it only looks like this. There's nothing going on here. It only looks that way. Now, that guy would do any damn thing in this world to get out of this problem he's in. He's got a wife and 4 kids at home. He's in trouble. He got caught with his pants down. Richard Nixon got caught with his pants down. And his pants was all the way ready to come over the shoes. Same way with the Watchtower. It already came over the shoes. And their pants were just dragging on the floor. But it only looks that way, they say. It only looks that way. We didn't do nothing wrong. We are a Christian organization who only want to print things into their magazines and show the people where birds come from, who swims in certain rivers of the world. You know, that's very important. Where a bird migrates from is very important. Where this animal comes from, oh, that is so important. Is it? Now, come on. Is knowing where a damn bird comes from that important? Only the influence they had is important. Influence, influence, influence. So we can put our magazines out throughout the world as a religious organization, non-profit, non-profit, non-profit. But we know better, don't we? There's no such thing as non-profit when it comes to those Watchtower money manipulators. They love it. They love it. But when they got caught with their pants down, it was too late. Now, till this day, they still stick to the same story. We only wanted to use the library. You know, I was about ready to leave at that particular time anyway. 2002. I had had enough. But when I heard that, I got on my phone and I phoned the United Nations. You can get their number right here off the internet. Just type in United Nations telephone number. It's right on there. And I phoned there. And you get an answering service. And this was a foreign accented person, like an Indian. And he wanted to know if he could help me. And I told him that I only had a question. It's the only thing I wanted to do. And he said, what is the question? I asked him, has the Watchtower organization, the Watchtower Bible Tract Society, ever belonged to the United Nations? He said, yes, they have. And then I said, well, how about this or that? I forget what it was. But he said, well, that's all I can tell you. See, a lot of things they won't tell you. And they can tell you, but they won't tell you. See, they're just like anyone else. They only tell you certain things. But I said, well, that's all I wanted to know. All I wanted to know. They indeed had belonged to the United Nations. And this fellow named Stephen Bates, Bates, is his last name. He became the #1 enemy of the Watchtower then. Oh, this guy worked for the Guardian Press of UK, Britain. He told on the Watchtower. They denied it, but it was too late. Pants were dragging on the floor. Yes. Now, this has been a quick video on the United Nations that the Watchtower Society belonged to. So don't let them ever tell you that it was only to use the library. We know what it was for. Us people who think for ourselves know what it was for. It was influence. That's what it was. So they could get into other countries without any problem. They had a lot of clout if they belonged to the United Nations. And all they had to do to gain this favor was once in a while print an article about the United Nations and explaining what the United Nations does for people in the world. It didn't have to be a lot, just a short half page or something like that. Just telling what work the United Nations does. And the Watchtower agreed to that. And indeed, I have found articles where they did print articles favored toward the United Nations. Yes, they did. So friends, let that be a lesson. Don't be like the Watchtower. Don't be like Richard Nixon. Or don't be like that man that was caught in the motel room with another woman with his pants down on his shoes, and the Watchtower with the pants down on their shoes, and Richard Nixon and Watergate with the pants down on his shoes. All three are guilty, no matter what they say. They all got caught with their pants down. So again, friend, I thank you for giving me the time to give you a short talk about the Watchtower's flirtation with the United Nations. Thank you, and God bless. Good night.